All right, let's get Facebook in here. We can start the show. We'll see how it goes. All right, welcome in. I am Nick Kendell, joined by Carl Dumler. It is Tuesday evening, time for an episode of Building the Broncos. Carl, how you doing? What's good? What's new? How are things out there in Kansas land?
Well, I mean, we're back to regular Kansas weather, 60-mile-per-hour winds. We had calls go out of, hey, we need people to help. We got semis flipped over on the highway. So, it's like I said, it's Kansas. We got dirt storms going on. I can't even talk today. And so my daughter goes, are we going to walk? Dirt storm. Oh, and she's like, can we walk the dog? I said, we're not going out in this. Oh, okay, Dad. So, yeah, it's been a little bit of a crazy day, but we're here.
That's what counts. Yeah, you and I actually share a lot of weather now, probably, because we had red flag warning today out here in Denver land, and walking to and from my medical campus building that I work at. Boy, it was nuts. I brought like a salad and some like shredded chicken in like a reusable grocery bag, and that thing was like a windsock. I was like whipping people walking to and from my car today. So yeah, pretty crazy. What's not, well, what is crazy? There's Summit. Hi, Summit. He brought his sloth. That's good. Saying hello to Deanna Hendry, saying hello all, traveling day on a plane before takeoff. Just wanted to say hi to everyone. Well, appreciate you, Deanna, keeping the lights on in here, keeping Summit somewhat groomed and bathed. And hope you're doing well. Enjoy your flight. I luckily, so everything normally, Carl, is a little bit harder with a kid, it just complicates things. And like navigating the airport with a kid is harder, but the flight itself, I've enjoyed more because my wife is extremely claustrophobic and wants to sit next to me. So she needs the aisle. And a lot of times it means I'm sitting in the middle seat, which for somebody, 6'1", long limbs like myself, sucks. Well, guess who's in the middle seat now? Sucker, little 2-year-old kid. So, that means I can be up against the window, get all the mountain views too. So, I knew it was going to be worth it. No, of course it was worth it. But hopefully you got a window or aisle seat or first class or whatever. I've never lived that luxurious of a life to have a first class seat. I'm just happy to be in the air. I'm a Midwesterner. If it's less than 16 hours driving, it's a drivable trek.
Yeah. So for me, it's at least 4 hours to a major airport.
Yep.
Yeah. So I've either got Wichita or Denver. They're both about 4 hours from me. So you're right. By the time I figure out how long it takes me to get there, time to get through the airport, everything else, I have to figure out, is this really worth it? Or would it just be better for me just to drive it? And there's been plenty of times I've said, we're just going to drive it.
You should have drove to Vegas when we met, I guess, in hindsight. Did you fly from Denver when you met us out to do Mount Whitney? You flew.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think it was Denver. Yeah, okay. Denver to Vegas. I've done the drive to Vegas. It's not a fun drive.
No.
There's a lot of nothing. I mean, yes, you're driving through the mountains, but like there'll be hundreds of miles of no towns.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're driving in a car, it's kind of like, please don't break down. Please don't fall apart. When we're going through Death Valley, I'm like, please, air conditioning, do not break right in this moment when it's 125 degrees on us.
Yeah. I remember somebody died driving through Death Valley the week before we were there. It was somebody on a motorcycle, and they died from the exposure because it was so hot. Crazy. Crazy. Mm-hmm. Keith coming in. Good evening, Broncos country. That would be a big heck no for me on AJ Brown trade. Why would we give up Bradley Moss? Makes no sense. We'll get into that here. David Youngkin, hope you're doing well. Hope you're healthy. Says, every single off season, every team is linked to every free agent are going to make a blockbuster move. I mean, it's the content game. We're talking about it now, and thank you, Bill Barnwell, for that. Bill Barnwell does a good job over at ESPN, but 90% of the things that you hear, half of that 90 is a BS, and even probably more than that is like there's some legs to it, but doesn't materialize. 50% of the time it works every time, Carl. So that's yeah, we'll see, but it is fun to talk about this time of year.
Yeah. No, still there's going to be those times a player gets signed that you're like, oh wow, that's great. I'm thinking of 2014. Broncos brought in DeMarcus Ware, Emmanuel Sanders, TJ Ward, Aqib Talib. Like that was a crazy free agency period for us. So every once in a while, you go out there and have something crazy happen for you. And when I hear both George Payton, Sean Payton, and I think even I remember the Pinner Group even talked about it, that they said we're going to be aggressive. So I believe them. If they say they're going to be aggressive, that means, hey, we're willing to throw some real cash at this if we want to. And so I do think the Broncos are going to make a couple decent moves, whether that's a trade like we're going to talk about today, or if that is maybe trying to pick up somebody on free agency. Free agency, it's always the first wave of free agents. Unfortunately, you're usually overpaying. So many times, honestly, I hope that our team stays out of it, because I don't want to be overpaying for these players and then a year down the road going, crap, why are we having to pay this guy this kind of money? But at the same time, when you're this close to the Super Bowl, sometimes it's worth bringing in that guy just because it gives you that enough of an upgrade to get you over the top.
Yeah, absolutely. NBL EX test prep coming in here, says he's here to party. Good to see it. Todd Ostendorf in the house too. Good to see US Dave said didn't know ESPN was still on the air. They definitely are, but YouTube might be closing them out of a lot of the lucrative NFL contracts. So worth paying attention to there. We got Paul coming in saying good to see you. Will be Nick and Carl will not be traded. Hopefully not, but I think my value is at an all-time low. So I don't know. We'll look out for that. Chase Milner factoring in on the contract. I think Denver can get him for less if they choose to pursue him. Talking about AJ Brown's contract. Yeah, we'll get into that here. I do want to say hello to more and more people. Roy Osborne. Roy, hope you're doing well. We like to come in here, but people got their maladies and stuff going on. Roy had a car incident, but hopefully you're doing better. Let's not talk about AJ Brown while we're going to talk about it. He will not build the Broncos, but bring it down. We have other people we can talk about too. Ernie Mays, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Go Broncos country only. And talk about the other people who bring Broncos country down. How about picking up Tyreek Hill? Carl, he's so talented. I can't do it. Like there's like AJ Brown, George Pickens. They may be a-holes on the field, but they're not like convicted felonies in their background where it's like, I don't know, you have to have some moral line, I think. And I don't want him anywhere near this team. I'm sorry. And that's easy for me to say because I'm not making the decisions for this team. My job's not on the line with winning football games. He's shown himself to not just one incidents. He's shown himself to be a POS many times. And I don't want it. Maybe that's me taking the high ground. I'm sorry. I couldn't. If they sign him, I'd be conflicted because obviously I want to win. And there'd be some element of me like, well, maybe he'll stay out of trouble and maybe this is the final piece. But I just rather they not bring him in. I'm sorry if you guys disagree. I cannot support that human being.
Yeah, like I said, if he helps you win a Super Bowl, there would be a part of me that would have to say at what cost. Because like I said, just to have to cheer for something like that where we've got so many different accusations. Like I said, if it was one,
and that one is still okay, maybe a red line you don't cross.
Right, I'm true. But when you've seen this pattern, it's like, okay, this is who this guy is. This is, and that hasn't changed. It doesn't matter how much legal trouble he gets into. He's like, nope, I'm going to keep doing this. And it's kind of like Rashee Rice with the Chiefs. I would never want that guy on the Broncos. There's talent for sure. Just like Tyreek Hill. He'd bring a lot of talent. I don't know how he is with this injury. I know I was listening to one of the Twitter doctors, guy that talks about all these different injuries and stuff. And he said, I don't know if he's going to play this year. So, I don't even know if he'll get signed by a team until later, maybe December or something like that. But you're right. I don't think that I could be excited about that signing. There's talent, but I don't think it's worth it to bring him into this locker room. I don't want him around the other players. I'm better off seeing him go somewhere else. If he helps somebody else win a Super Bowl, I'm like, you know what? I can live with it. I can live with the fact that our team didn't sign him.
And you mentioned it's the history, multiple incidences. There's people, Tyreek Hill, obviously you mentioned Stephon Diggs. I mean, Denver was willing to sign him last season and he has had some issues. And they also have had people on the Broncos who are not Saints by any means. But, and again, I'll reiterate, it's easy for me to say where I'm sitting. Like, I'm not getting fired for not winning next season, where some people in the Broncos, we saw coaches get fired this year for less. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze at this point at his age, coming off that injury with all the baggage he has. But if they do, obviously you got the green light from the very top in the Walton Penner group, and it's a move to go in. But I don't know. That's somebody who I would, in my life, I hope I never have to cheer for Tyreek Hill. That would be good for me. I don't know. You guys maybe in the chat, you feel differently. Nick, oh, you're so pious. Maybe that's the right way. Get off your high box. There's so many incidences of him just being a bad person, and I don't want that in here. You talk about, I think people trying to conflate him or Stephon Diggs with like AJ Brown on the field antics, George Pickens on the field antics. Different for me. Ronald Samples coming in. Good to see you. He says, go Broncos, Denver Broncos for life. We got Sam coming in. Broncos or die. What's going on, Sean? Good to see you. We appreciate you coming in here saying hello. Did we also want to say hello to, I say Chris. Yeah, he says Hill is a locker room cancer. I don't know how he is as a teammate. Like locker room cancer to me means he comes in and poisons the players around him. And obviously he had a lot of success with the Kansas City Chiefs, but he in it of himself is cancerous. So I don't know. I think it taints everything. And I think there's a lot of risk too. Like what if he comes in and he's horrible, right? Like he's like washed completely. And then you sold your soul for what? Other avenues. I'd rather stick with the guys here than I think bring him in.
I would say I haven't actually heard teammates say that he was a bad teammate. Mm-hmm. I've never heard that part before. And we do have to remember he did help the Chiefs win a Super Bowl. So he's been on a winning Super Bowl team. But again, it's just not worth it to me. And thankfully, most of the people in the chat, it's looking like they're pretty much in agreement that do not go for this guy. So I appreciate that that's the way the chat's going. And if you want him, I mean, I get it because, again, there is real talent when he's healthy. And I do get he's 32 coming off a very serious knee injury, so we don't know exactly what he is. But sometimes it's the risk you have to take of go get a very talented player that you can get at a cheaper price. I mean, Drake Greenlaw, that's kind of how we got him. Hufanga, they came at probably a cheaper price than if they were healthy before free agency happened. Then they'd be getting top 2, top 3 money for their position. So we were able to make that work. So, but no, Tyreek Hill, like I said, I don't know if he's a locker room cancer. To me, that I always think of Mike McCoy. I had a Raiders fan message me this week, and they're like, "Oh, we got Mike McCoy. He's going to be so great. I'm so glad he's here." And I'm going, when he was in Denver last, he was trying to circumvent Vance Joseph because he was working under Vance Joseph, and he was going to John Elway and the GM and trying to tell them like, hey, he doesn't know what he's doing. You should be letting me run this team. And, that's a locker room cancer. That's a guy that's like whispering to other people, like, to your face, he's going to tell you, hey, you're doing great. And then behind the scenes, he's going, you kind of suck. So I don't think Tyreek Hill's quite that way.
Yeah, I just don't want him. I don't want him. Greg Smith, I want him. It says, good evening, Broncos country, Denver Broncos for life. We also got Lois coming in saying, go Broncos. Hope you're doing well over there on Facebook. If you guys are joining us on Facebook today, please click the thumbs up. We got our guy Phil McLaughlin coming in here. Always great to see you, Phil. Stars as well, or Scott is squeezing something. I can't tell. But good to see you, Phil. Always appreciate you. Glenn Ashley, down under, says, good morning, Nick and Carl. No way in hell do we sign Hill. He's a disease, horrible human. I do think I'm a forgiving person to some extent, but if you do it over and over again, I'm sorry, man. Like there's only so many rotations around the sun that we have, and I don't want to waste them on people like that. So, normal people learn from their mistakes. Smart people learn from others' mistakes. I don't know about Tyreek Hill. Let's not. If it's me. I saw a question in here about running backs as well, Carl. There we go. Hookem says, what running back will pay to come, or do we wait for the draft? So he's talking about the running back position. This is something I kind of pitched at Chad, as well about the show, just because there's been a lot of running back chatter, and it looks like it's a good free agent running back crop, but it also sounds like there could be some really talented cap casualty running backs that influence the market as well. So I think Denver probably will draft one day 3 and sign someone, and I expect them, like, proportion. How do I put it? Compared to what the positions make in the league market, I expect Denver to have their biggest signing be a running back this season. It's like that you might have like a wide receiver, or defensive lineman, linebacker, maybe that makes more, but I think they'll pay a linebacker or a running back coming out of this top 8 money in the NFL. And it could be short term. I mean, running back position's weird, but I think they're going to pay somebody, and I think they're going to go after cream of the crop. And you can kind of get away with that when you're paying your quarterback pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, I've heard that the Broncos are very interested in Breece Hall if he's able to hit the market. There was rumors that he's going to get franchise tagged by the Jets. I've heard transition tag as well. I don't know how that's all going to play out for him. I hope that he can hit the market because he would do incredible in this system. And like I said, but even there, I would still have a price point where I'd say, hey, this is what we're willing to pay, which would be top 8 money for the position. But if he's one in top 3 kind of money, I'm saying, okay, I'm going to the next guy on my list. And I'd have kind of a price point for him because I think there is enough running backs on the market this year that you feel very comfortable with if they came in, could do some good things for your offense. Maybe not to the level of Breece Hill, or Breece Hall, sorry. But you can still feel good of Tyler Algier later on, getting him for what, a third of the price of maybe what you have to pay Breece Hall. And you can feel really good about what he's going to be able to bring to the table. And if all else fails, if it's, break glass in case of emergency, J.K. Dobbins, you can bring him back for a 1-year, really cheap deal. I know most people are going to be like, don't do that. But when he was healthy, obviously he was a very, very talented running back for us. He was a top 5 running back in football this last year till he went down with injury. And then, of course, if you're doing that, then it maybe changes how you go about the draft. Maybe you are taking a running back a round or 2 earlier than you would have otherwise, if that's what you're doing, because you need a better backup system than what you had last year. But like I said, that's an in case of emergency break glass, because I think there's about 5 or 6 guys at the top. And then you said that there might be a couple casualty guys that are going to be hitting the market. I know there's talk of Kamara maybe hitting the market. Trying to remember who else I saw. Korner is another
James
one that
Conner
I saw
from Arizona, big back, actually a really underrated receiver as well. He did some good stuff for them 2 years ago. Last year, obviously, the wheels fell off the bus. And I think the name that you're probably not most interested in, I don't want to speak for you, Carl, but somebody that the Broncos have shown interest in, Josh Jacobs, is also apparently somebody who could be hitting the market from Green Bay. And then you also have David Montgomery, who might be a cap casualty or available for a 6th-round pick, maybe a 5th, and you get back a 7th. So I don't think Denver has a 6th this year, but they have like 3 7th-rounders, so maybe 2 7ths for David Montgomery. They gave up a heck of a lot to go trade up for Isaac Tisla last year. So the Lions did. So there's going to be ample avenues. My real question for you here, Carl, and I think Eric maybe responded to me on Twitter. I've been so busy with work, I haven't been able to check things as much. But how feasible is it for the Broncos to, let's say they sign a top 3 running back veteran? How feasible would it be to sign somebody else to come in here? Because I know a lot of people are like, oh, they really got to fix the running back room. They should sign 2 veterans. You already have RJ Harvey in here, which the team likes, obviously. And if you go out and sign, let's just say for the sake of argument here, Kenneth Walker to a big deal, who's going to want to come here and be fighting for the scraps? That's always a viable pathway, I think, for the draft, because they don't have a choice in the matter.
Right.
But free agency wise, I guess it really comes down to Dobbins and what he would like to do in that situation. But if I were him, give me a situation like the Broncos this last season where there's an opportunity versus where he would be like very obviously 3rd in the pecking order.
I guess it depends on the running back that you sign. If it is Kenneth Walker, He has a little bit of an injury history. It's kind of a weird injury history. It's not like he has major injuries. He's just got nagging injuries. And that's, I don't know whether that's good or bad, I guess, because he doesn't miss a ton of games, but he just has a lot of time where he's not in there. And so then maybe you could have a Dobbins, you could talk to him and say, hey, we know that this guy is going to need somebody to come in. He's going to need time to recover from different things. You're going to get your opportunities. And so maybe that's kind of a direction you go, but I'm not a big Kenneth Walker fan. I'll be honest. Like I like him as a running back. I just don't like him for our system because so much one, who's going to be your pass blocking running back?
I think Harvey.
Probably.
I think you probably have to hope for it to be Harvey in that one. I don't know if it's been shows with you and me, Carl, but like if I could get into Harvey's ear, maybe I can tweet his dad who angry tweeted at me once. That I was like, don't fumble the bleeping ball. Like, what do you know about that? I'm like, I mean, I'm not playing in the NFL, but I know you shouldn't fumble the football. But if I was in his ear, like he obviously needs to run better between the tackles, but like how dynamic he was as a receiver this season, if he can improve his pass blocking, he's going to play in the league for a decade. So like I would be in his ear, like study pass protection, the blocking assignments, the rules of protection. If you can carve out a niche there with how you catch, you're going to get paid for a running back.
Yeah.
So I think it would be Harvey for that one.
Probably. But my main thing there would be then still it keys the defense to know if Walker's in, we're probably 75% of the time running it. If Harvey's in, probably 75% of the time we're passing it.
I would be really curious on the splits on this, Carl. So I've just, again, the data on this. Even if Walker is an issue as you're not going to play him on third down. I get that.
Right.
And you're not going to want him to pass protect very often. But he still has an impact on the pass game. Because I think he's an okay receiver. Not Harvey level, but he's okay. And also play action. Like they're going to key in on him. And if you give the run motion, you hold the linebackers on their heels for a second or bite, there's value to that. So like I'm with you. I'm very big on the pass protection rules. And there's has to be somebody that's a third down back. Maybe you can bring back Samaje Perine for cheap. But for Walker, I think he is dynamic enough as a runner that I can live with it. But there is risk. So sorry to interrupt and push back. I just think that the play action aspect, that's what the Seahawks did this season to mitigate. Oh, he can't pass protect? Well, let's have him run at the line of scrimmage and play action. And I think they ran more play action than anybody else this season.
Yeah. And that definitely has some value to it for sure. I find other running backs that I'm drawn towards that I think could be better fits in this system. Like I said, I think Breece Hall is the gem of this free agency class if he makes it there. I think he would be a great fit because he can pass block. He can run like his hair is on fire up the middle. He's a decent receiver. I think there's a lot of things you could do with him on offense. And then you have RJ Harvey because you use him over and over again. And then all of a sudden, boom, here comes RJ Harvey. And I just think that 1-2 punch would be something fun to watch. And then I think a guy like Travis Etienne, maybe you've got a little bit of a crossover between him and RJ Harvey because there's some things that match up. But at the same time, having two dynamic running backs that a team has to be ready for, that anytime they get the ball in their hands, it could turn into a big play. I think that would be a lot of fun. Yeah. And Tyler Algier, I think, again, he's another player that if these other guys, if they price themselves out of, or they just say, I want to go somewhere else, or their team signs him back, whatever, I think he's a really good fallback plan. I think he's not going to bring all that they bring, but he could bring 90% of what they bring for, like I said, a third of the price.
I mean, I wouldn't even call him a fallback plan. I think he's immensely talented. And if you brought him in, how he pairs, like there's a difference between like the macro perspective, like this team needs offensive weapons. They need a running back that they can build around a bit, and they need a pass catching weapon they can build around. But like from a micro perspective, like very role specific, they need an early down innings eater type that can deliver body blows. And that adds up over time. And I know Rodney, good question here about Nakobe Dean signing Dobbins, both possible. We'll get into linebackers some more at some point. I'm not as big on, I'm looking for my mouse. I left my mouse. I'm not as big on Nakobe Dean, a little smaller injury history, playing behind probably one of the better gap eating defensive lines in football, and also playing next to the best slot in football as well, who helps a lot with the stuff there, and Cooper DeJean. But all pro. I know everybody's loving Nick Man Warrior right now, but Cooper DeJean's better. But yeah, we'll see about those guys. We got Dominique. Hey, Broncos. How everyone doing? We're doing better now that you're here, Dominique. Hope you're doing well. I see Chase. Brees Hall, terrible at pass blocking. He's not very good either. Javonte Williams is very good there. You know who's absolutely horrific at pass protection? Rico Dowdle. I know he's out there as well. He's one that it's like he's not dynamic enough as a runner for me to be that interested. But does have me interested is this trade from Bill Barnwell, ESPN. Shout out to him for the content machine. And this is one that we'll see. We'll hear more coming from the combine, which I think is already next week. Carl, time flies. We'll get a lot of information. Again, 50% of the time it's BS every time coming out of there. I guess you got to know who you're listening to and who's kind of, pushing the agent smoke versus the team smoke, but they're all lying. But there is some smoke, and I'll be curious to follow if there's any whispers about who the Broncos are targeting at wide receiver. I know there's a lot of rumors they tried hard after Jalen Waddle last trade deadline. And also there's some talk that A.J. Brown was at least discussed. And Bill Barnwell does have the Broncos landing A.J. Brown in a rare player-for-player trade. You don't see it all that often, Carl. So I think probably not happening here, but would you pull it? What is the trade for the people in the chat and the people who probably shouldn't be typing away on their computer, shaking the camera?
Yeah, so the trade goes this way, that the Broncos would get A.J. Brown and a fifth-round pick in 2026, and the Eagles would get Riley Moss, a 2026 second-round pick, and a 2027 fifth-round pick back in the trade. And I don't know why you have to throw Riley Moss into that trade. I think that's my
Eagles
biggest issue there.
That's the big that.
Yeah. I just feel like if you are throwing Riley Moss, because he has value. Mm-hmm. I feel like Barnwell's almost treating him like a cast off, like, okay, well, they need this. And because I don't think A.J. Brown's value is a first round pick. With his contract, he's 29, getting ready to go on 30. That's getting up there in age. He's not coming off his best season by any means. Obviously, the issues within the locker room and on the sidelines, it's all well documented. So I don't think his value is where Eagles fans would want it to be. I feel like this kind of trade would be more of an Eagles would be like, yes, let's do this right now. Where for us as Broncos, I feel like we should be sitting there saying, okay, wait a minute. Riley Moss is a very cheap option right now for a boundary corner. He's really good for a number 2 cornerback. Yes, he had some penalty issues. I felt like he did much better over the last about 5 weeks of the season, where you could see some things that he was working on, try not to grab quite as much. And thankfully in the playoffs, sometimes they let him get away with a little bit more than what they did during the regular season. So I don't want to trade him away for pennies on the dollar at this point. I know you've got another first-round rookie cornerback that you just drafted that you want to see get on the field some way, somehow. But I'm not sure that by trading away Riley Moss is the best way to do that. So if I was doing this trade, and let's say they wanted Riley Moss to be a part of it, I would say, okay, it's Riley Moss. I would maybe go 3rd-round pick. I would not give up the extra 5th-round pick the next year. I'd just say Riley Moss in the 3rd or A.J. Brown in the 5th. That's where I would be at.
Yeah, I think that's possible. I'm not against it by any means. I think the 2nd round this year, given the class, is maybe a little bit depreciated. You're also talking about what is it going to be for Denver? Pick 60? Is that what it is? So, 2nd round is the 2nd round, but they're also not all the same, right? Pick the first 5 of the 2nd round are always pretty valuable compared to the back end of the 2nd round. I mean, you saw it last season where RJ Harvey went compared to the really good rookie run that was the top of the 2nd round last year. It was awesome. So I don't know. I think that what this all comes down to for me, obviously it's what they think of A.J. Brown and if they want to bring him in. I'm not sure how the dynamics would work with him and Sutton, because Sutton probably not slot at this point, probably pure X. Brown is better at X2 at 11 personnel. Who's playing Z as Brown and slot, and they win differently. Like Sutton's better over those like deep digs and overs, where AJ Brown pretty good with slants, and I think he's being underutilized in Philly because Jalen Hurts is anemic to throwing over the middle of the field, or is that the wrong word? Allergic, throwing over the middle of the field. So we'll see. But I'm interested in AJ Brown. I think he's a supremely talented player. He lines up with the Broncos window they're in right now, and also as far as the ball going to him, it will often and early. Bo Nix, I think, led the league in passing this year and combined over the last 2 seasons. And a part of that is he's been one of the few quarterbacks who's not missed any time. So that does matter as well. But we'll see with that. As far as trading Moss goes, it depends on what the internal beliefs are on re-signing Riley Moss, as well as what you think of Jahdae Barron. If you are sky high on Jahdae Barron and you have the ability to move a expiring contract, then I think it's something to consider. All the same, can you hear the kid crying in the background? I'm sorry if it's picking it up. You can't. Okay. Well, that's good. But it depends on what you think of Barron and how motivated you are to re-sign Riley Moss.
That's true. I do think he is a nice trade piece for sure. And like I said, if you believe in Barron, then you're more willing to move on from him and feel good about it. And maybe then it gives you a little bit more ability to re-sign McMillan if you want to be able to do that and keep that cornerback room 1, 2, 3 strong. And of course, then you still have KAD back there as well as a nice backup option that has inside outside ability. So I do appreciate that. I just, because every single year it seems like you've got a cornerback going down, I would just worry quite a bit about what happens when one of those guys goes down. Like right now, thankfully, our cornerback room actually is pretty deep, where even when Surtain went down with injury, our defense still played pretty darn well because you had some quality backups that you could trust to be on the field and not completely lose it.
And it starts up front. Sorry, I just got to push the narrative.
It does. That definitely helps. But to be able to lose Defensive Player of the Year and not have your defense completely fall apart is a huge, huge bonus. So yeah. I appreciate that. I just, when you're in a Super Bowl window, trading away talented players, I'd rather trade draft picks than I would to trade talented players. Because I feel like in some ways you're hurting the cornerback room while helping the wide receiver room. Yeah, so it's not a wash because AJ Brown is a top 10 wide receiver in football, where Riley Moss is not a top 10 cornerback in football. But it still negates a little bit of the advantage that you get by bringing in AJ Brown.
Yeah. I mean, would you keep Moss and flip that second up to a first round pick? Like, let's say it takes, would you rather Moss and a second or pick 30 overall and your third round pick?
Probably Moss in the third, honestly.
Moss in the second.
Just because, Moss in the second. I probably would rather do that, honestly, because having that 5th-year option does help out. I mean, I think it's less of an advantage than people realize because you still pay on that 5th-year option. It's still a pretty decent contract, especially
because I think it's escalated based on Pro Bowls, which is stupid because everybody's a Pro Bowler now. I think I got invited. So there's no way they should make contract escalation based on Pro Bowls. That's just
Shedeur
stupid.
Sanders. Yeah, when the worst quarterback in football makes it to the Pro Bowl.
What they need to do is like, I think we did this before, Carl, but we did like all division teams. You know how like conferences, they have like, okay, you're not good enough to be all American, but you're all conference. I know it's smaller, but like, let's see the all AFC West team. And if you get a 5% increase versus like the 20% increase that you see with the Pro Bowl, because the Pro Bowl is stupid. It's just stupid. The accolade is dumb now.
Yeah. When the Browns have 2 Pro Bowl quarterbacks on their team on the same season, and Joe Flacco and Shedeur Sanders, not a good look for the NFL. But anyway, we'll get past that. So no, I'd still probably rather keep the first round pick. I think part of it is just because maybe I've got a little PTSD from all the Wilson
supporting
trade.
The Seahawks.
Yeah, pretty much, and helping them win their Super Bowl. You're welcome, Seattle.
Yeah.
And So I don't quite want to get rid of that per se, but man, that second round pick, I love day 2 of the draft. It's probably my favorite day of the draft.
Oh yeah.
And so to see that gone and have us go from pick 30 to in the 90s be our next pick would be a little bit rough to go through. But that's just a personal thing for me because I love the draft so much.
Yeah.
But like I said, if you're adding AJ Brown and you're kind of viewing it as that's our second round pick, so then you can go, okay, whoever we get in the first pick or first round, maybe it's tight end Sadiq, maybe something like that. I know some people, I've already seen those mentioned in the chat here. I even saw some people asking about Love from Notre Dame. He's not making it to the Broncos. There's just no way he's making it clear down to 30. So give up on that dream. I'm sorry about that, people, if you were really hoping that would be what happened for the Broncos. But yeah, if you can view it as, okay, whoever we get at pick 30 plus AJ Brown, I could definitely feel much better about that.
And again, the reason this is even a conversation is because Moss is on an expiring contract, and you have a first-round pick that your current defensive coordinator has mentioned the vision for him is boundary. In-season interview, when we thought he was as good as gone, Vance Joseph still probably should have got a job. But you're probably not going to be able to or want to sign both of Jaquan McMillan and Riley Moss. So really the question is, like, where do you want Barron to be? And let's say it's not necessarily, let's say Barron's vision is slot. The Eagles, as we already mentioned, they have the best slot cornerback in football in Cooper DeJean, but maybe there's a subsequent trade to change resources. This is what I've always thought as well. If Denver is making a move for a wide receiver, I think somebody's probably out in the room right now, unless they're carrying 6. And I don't know if they really want to do that with the new kickoff rules when none of them play core 4 special teams, but we'll see. We're still kind of figuring out what teams like to do with the roster math when it comes to that. But maybe you end up moving McMillan instead. You do have Chris Abrams-Drain. Denver apparently preferred to play Chris Abrams-Drain on the boundary in comparison to Barron when they had the option this season. So cornerback, while it's stable right now for Denver, you do have some turnover on the horizon with 2 of your top 3 hitting free agency. And this would just be, we already aren't planning on keeping Riley Moss. We like the depth we have, and we have a chance to add a wide receiver who we can build the passing game out of. So again, I'm not against it by any means. And I like Riley Moss a lot, but I do understand the thought process behind it. But the main question is, how good is Barron? They would know better than we would. If they feel ready for him to take over that spot, it's a first-round pick. I get it.
Yeah, I'm with you. And we've talked about it, I think, a few weeks ago on this show, that drafting Barron in the first, I do think that was incredible value, because I do think most people thought he'd be going top 15, top 17 of the draft. So getting him at 20, there's value in that. But if you miss the first 2, possibly 3 years of his rookie contract and he's not out there playing at least 50% of the snaps, he could still turn into a great player, but that doesn't mean that you got great value per se, because that's part of why you love getting these rookies, is because they're cheap. Why Bo Nix, you're allowed to be able to go make all these signings of Surtain and Bonito and Allen and Cooper. And I mean, the list can go on of all the guys we've been able to sign, Hufanga, Jones, Greenlaw. We've been able to have those contracts because we have these guys on rookie contracts. Mm-hmm. And so if you're not able to take advantage of that and have this guy being a productive guy above what his contract is paying, you're really missing out. So I do think that it's not that you push it just because he's a first round pick and you got to get him out there. But if you really do think he can be anything, then yeah, you probably do put Riley Moss out there or McMillan, either one. I think you can.
They probably both combine. There's going to be conversations had. Every single Bronco on this team that has an expiring contract right now, guess what, guys? There's going to be like, oh, what would it take for you? Are you interested at all? Like, oh, well, I mean, everyone's available for the right price, especially if you're on an expiring contract. And we got Phil coming in here. God bless you. Thank you so much, Phil. He says, what's it going to cost to keep McMillan, and when do we pay him? They do have the restricted free agent pathway for him. I would imagine he gets the second round tender placed on him. And if somebody wants to pay him and give us a second round pick in the process, God bless. That's a good deal for all parties, because that means McMillan signed a contract. And that also means that Denver's going to get a second round pick in return. So I would be for it. As far as what his contract is, like McMillan, I always talk out of both sides of my mouth when I talk about him, because he does have instincts to take away the football. But as far as coverage goes, he was the weak link in the secondary. And a lot of his weaknesses this season were covered up because of how dynamic Hufanga is coming downhill. But McMillan is not really dynamic against the run. You can't really use him as an insert player, as a blitz, kind of like what we saw at the Seahawks this year, utilizing Weatherspoon and Aman Warrior. Again, the Eagles with Cooper DeJean. Like, that slot player has become more of a safety linebacker versus, like, Chris Harris's tiny, smaller of the world. And they're really physical against the run, and they're blitzers as well. McMillan just doesn't necessarily bring that giddy up, that closing speed. So again, if somebody offers a second round pick, God bless, Godspeed. And I would imagine, nickel cornerbacks, they're valuable. They don't get paid boundary cornerback money, still all the same. So I don't think he's going to get a ridiculous contract. And right now I'd imagine Riley Moss probably gets a bigger contract than McMillan if both were on the open market.
Yeah, I don't know exact money that he'd be looking at by any means, but you're right. I think he has real value for this team, but there's still some limitations to it. And I do think that there's some ways that he gets covered up. Hufanga being here really, really helps to make life much easier for McMillan, where he doesn't have to be as good in the run support because Hufanga's coming up and making the play. We didn't have that the year before. And there were teams that were able to run against us at will because we had a lot of smaller guys out there. Safeties were out of position. Linebackers were out of position. But Hufanga being able to come down, be that aggressive guy, really made life much easier. And talking about life being easy, here we go. Gene coming in with some stars saying, "What's up, men? Good to see you all tonight. Bye, Riley. Hello, AJ Brown. I'm not too excited for his attitude. It'll make Bo better," referring to the recent trade idea with the Eagles. Here's the deal. I get AJ Brown. He does wear out his welcome eventually, pretty much everywhere he goes. But there's at least a couple years where you're going to get top-notch AJ Brown, and even his issues. It's mostly he knows how good of a player he is, and he just wants the opportunity to actually go show it. And unfortunately, he went to the Titans. Not the greatest quarterback situation, and very much a running team when he was there. Then he goes to the Eagles. Another not a great passing team. Jalen Hurts is up and down with what he brings. It's either really short, really deep, nothing over the middle of the field, or AJ Brown can really do some damage over the middle of the field. And so he's never quite had the situation to take advantage of his full skill set. Now, him coming to Denver, like I said, we're one of the most pass-happy teams in the entire league. And you go add A.J. Brown, you're going to be able to say, hey, we're going to get you probably 3 or 4 more targets a game coming here to Denver. And I think he's going to be much happier in that kind of situation. And they're going to be able to take advantage of his quick first step, getting himself open on some slants or hitches, plays that Sean Payton loves to have those kind of routes within his system. And so, yeah, I think he would love it being here in Denver. I think he would love playing with Bo Nix. And I think he would be renewed. Sometimes a guy getting into a new environment makes a big difference. And then I think the other thing is Bronco, not that the Eagles didn't have good leadership. They have good leadership there. But I think here in Denver, you've got Cortland Sutton that would be working with him. I think Sutton's actually a really good leader. I still remember being at training camp a few years ago, and Emmanuel Sanders was kind of being an a-hole and wasn't putting his full effort into practice. And Cortland Sutton was a rookie. And he came up and was like yelling at him, screaming, and just being like, dude, you got to get moving. And all of a sudden, fists are flying everywhere. And it's like, being up on the hill, everybody's like, what happened? What, because everybody's paying attention somewhere else. And here they are on the sideline fighting each other. And so I think that they do have some decent leadership there. course, Bo Nix. I think he's going to really work hard to make AJ Brown feel comfortable in this offense. And Sean Payton, I think he has that reputation of, hey, yes, I push my guys hard. And I think AJ Brown will respect that.
Yeah. A few final thoughts on this before we wrap up, because it is time. And I don't know if you guys heard the kids screaming in the background, but yeah, two differences. One, Jalen Hurts is a Super Bowl winning quarterback, and that Super Bowl against the Chiefs game last year was by far and away his best game he's ever played. That's not the norm. And you could see interviews with AJ Brown, like, what do you guys need to improve on? The pass game. Like, you watch the tape, it's like, guys are open. You're not hitting the middle of the field in time. And also it's the aspect of, well, again, the Eagles were amazing last season, but I credit the overwhelming talent on the lines of scrimmage and the defense in general, and the skill position players, more so the quarterback, as well as more so than the head coach. Sirianni is a show unto himself, and that can be multiple directions. And Sean Payton as well, but Sean Payton's got skins on the wall. He has been consistently good, where the Eagles stuff feels fragile and volatile. Very fragile and volatile. So coming in here would be different. I'm here for getting AJ Brown. Is he a definitive, no doubt, top 5 wide receiver? No. Is one of those guys going to be available? I mean, if you want to put first round pick and $40 million in George Pickens, maybe. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do that either. But I think that the situation here is different. And also, I don't remember necessarily, Carl, you mentioned it earlier. Somebody in the chat can remind me. I don't remember it getting super ugly in Tennessee either. Like, I remember like he was definitely like frustrated, but I don't remember it being the distraction. I remember that it was like a lot of like stuff that was driven by the general manager, and after it happened, it's like, Jesus effing bleep. Like, what are you, sorry to in vain, Carl, but like, what are you doing here? GM's fired immediately, and these guys are like, wow, that was really freaking stupid. So I don't know. I don't think he's a bad person. He wants the ball. He's got his ring, and I think he wants his numbers now to build a Hall of Fame case. Sean Payton's going to probably do that for you, AJ. Granted, kind of made the same argument for Evan Ingram, and that didn't materialize last year, but you never know. So, again, I'm here for it. The exact package, I don't know. Riley Moss could be, or Jaquan McMillan could be moved independent of a move for somebody like AJ Brown. So, we'll see. But we are going to wrap it up here, guys. Appreciate everyone. I better go help out from whatever the screaming pig was that was in the background there. Good to see David Schlosser as well. Just hope Barron wasn't picked because they scrambled because everyone they really wanted was already gone. I think they trusted their board and they had him graded high, and there's other good guys available. I mean, in hindsight, because we know what some of these players are now, the move would have been the trade down with the Giants and getting more capital and still having a chance at, Schwessinger or Luther Burden or somebody like that who maybe moves the needle a little bit more. But I still think it was probably good process overall. So,
yeah,
we'll see. But yeah, Carl, thanks. Shout out to Bill Barnwell. Fun for him to kind of give us some scenarios. And yeah, Combine next week should be a lot of fun. I do think we're kind of sadly reaching the age where a lot of these guys aren't going to be testing as much anymore. But still, the Combine, while they put it up on TV for all the medicals and everything, the real value from the Combine is having everybody in the media and personnel, coaches in the same place, staying up too late and sharing drinks and sharing words. Mm-hmm. And then also the medical checks. Those are probably the two most actual valuable things coming out of the Combine.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there was lots of rumors that if you bought John Elway a drink, it'd give you pretty much a little tidbit of information for every drink that you bought him. Mm-hmm. So, and he, by the end, he was just pretty much telling everybody everything. So I don't think our new regime is quite to that level by any means. They're pretty tight-lipped on a lot of things that are going on. But yes, hopefully we get a few little things coming out, maybe some trades going on, and it's going to be quite the whirlwind over the next probably 4 weeks with free agency. And like you said, Combine coming up, lots of information coming. So make sure you guys tune in for Mile High Huddle. Oh, muted. Nick, you're muted.
I push the button. Sometimes it doesn't work. Yep, we did a mock yesterday. A lot of fun. I'll be live with Scott again tomorrow morning. Shout out to Deanna Hendry for the super chats. Phil McLaughlin as well. You guys can follow Carl on Twitter. Carl's at Carl Dumler MHH. I'm at Nick Kendell MHH. You can also follow us at Mile High Huddle. We're over at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. And as that ticker says there underneath, please subscribe, like, and share if you're joining us on YouTube. It's the number one way you can reach us. And like I said, hit us up on Twitter, X Machine, whatever it is. We appreciate y'all. Carl, always good to see you. Hope you had a good President's Day, Valentine's Day. Just be prepared. Valentine's Day is the Super Bowl next year. Super Bowl's on the Valentine's Day. So maybe celebrate that a week early or a week after. It's probably even a better move. But yeah, have a great one, guys. Stay out of trouble. Go Broncos.